So the way you do this is just by writing a function containing the function library underscore the function name, and then whatever text you want, whatever code you want, you can call that function, for example, the math function.
We have a whole lot of typical math libraries that we put in there as well.
So you have the POW function, which, for those of you who don't know, raises the second number, raises the first number to the second number. Obviously, I don't know that. Computers, nobody knows how they work. So that'll then go into the JavaScript libraries, find the math library, and pull out the POW function, and then return an integer to you. And then it gets kind of crazy when you try and add strings together. But because inherently we're rolling back on JavaScript's addition function, if you just type equals and then put two strings.
Do you mean text strings?
Yes, text strings. By putting text inside of quotes, inside of a function, which is function is just prefaced by an equal sign, like this. If you can see it, it's kind of small. Can we make this bigger? Ah.
Yeah, everything, all of our functions default back to the JavaScript, so it kind of handles our error handling for us as well. So if you put in something really weird, like you try to divide divide anything by 0, it'll come up with whatever JavaScript says. It'll say not a number or whatever.
Or infinity.
Okay, JavaScript thinks it's infinity.
JavaScript works with floating point numbers. They don't actually have an integer, and in floating point numbers you can get infinity.
We also, one of our other presentations we had at ArtPost, we had one of our colleagues come up and demonstrate how easy it is to add your own functions to our program. We had him write a function on the spot in JavaScript, and we put it into our thing. So this is the function he wrote. It's just a sad face. But that took him 30 seconds to put that in there and just put in your own function, and it's really easy. So that's one big thing we really wanted to have as an open source, sharing community development type of project. People really be able to write their own functions and have them implement into our spreadsheet without really breaking it.
When we brought him up, we didn't tell him how to write the function. We just opened up the JavaScript file that had other functions in it, and he was able to figure out how to write it and write his own.
Where does that function live? Is it only in his particular spreadsheet, or does it go to a common library?
Okay, so what he did was he just added it to the master file, but each individual user will have their own set of functions that they can write as they're working, and that will just be saved to their account. It actually gets saved to the spreadsheet that you use them in, so if you share it, if I shared one with Beth and I used one of my own functions, it would get saved to the spreadsheet and she would have the function as well. But because it's an open source application, you can just change it. If you're running your own server, you can just put whatever functions you want inside of the master directory. You can also overwrite functions yourself from the master directory. So let's say, for example, I implemented the Fibonacci sequence and I used some horrible n-squared algorithm. And then you came up and you said, well, this is horrible. I want to write my own. You can. And just save it to your file, and then every time you try and call the Fibonacci equation, it'll call your own instead of whichever one I wrote. So up in the menu, this menu is a dynamically generated menu that you can generate using XML, YAML, or JSON. In the end, it just all gets compiled to the object notation JSON and gets displayed here. And you just type text and whatever function you want. And we tried to make it easy as everything else so that anybody can put this into their application. And the entire menu consists of buttons that have names, shortcut keys, and then functions that they get that the button calls. So if it's saved, it prompts you for a file name. And we don't have internet, so it's going to spew some horrible error.
Otherwise, it would save to your account, and if you were to go back to your account, you'd be able to access it and pop up with the same stuff that's in there. And it saves the equations as well. So you'd be able to click back on this cell that says 32, and it would show the how.
One of the things our colleagues brought up is, well, can I access cells in other spreadsheets? And that's something we're trying to work on, because that'd be kind of cool. No, it isn't. Just kind of.
Hopefully over this next semester, as well as over the summer, what we really want to work on is, well, first thing, well, at least I'm going to work on, is the more document sharing features. So I talked about the allowed users feature and you being able to access other people's documents and share them. Well, right now it's just like basic, really basic features. So I want to add more stuff such as like being able to share with for view only, as well as editing and a lot of other things that Google Docs implements. As well as like right now, we have the sharing. We have sort of started on the live editing or multi-user editing, as we say here. So that is like coming really soon. We've thought of like I think 3 different algorithms now, and we're working on it. So right now, like you can edit a document and save it, and someone else can edit the same document and save it, but it does not run like live. So that's coming soon. We haven't really put a lot of effort into UI. If we had been able to show you the actual live thing, you'd be able to tell. A lot of it's gray. So we're really working on like the back end and the functionality of things, and so we're hoping now that we've got a little bit of stuff working, we can clean up the UI and maybe start giving this out to people at our cost action. We've also started a basic code editor. So this is going to be using it's going to be similar to like Google Docs, but for code. So we're working with one of our colleagues in our class who's been doing a lot of stuff about syntax highlighting for web. So he is actually really interested in working with us on this, so that's also in progress.
And farther in the future, we want to make a what you see is what you get editor, because those are really nice to use. You just have them display exactly what you're typing. Right before then, along with what Beth was just saying about the code editor, is we want a split face for certain things that you can type, like LaTeX and Markdown, so that you can get rich text from just basic text input. And how that will work is it'll have the text editor on one side, and then the resulting rendered image on the other side. And a lot of other people have shown interest in that. And I use
LaTeX. That would be really useful.
We want to create a presentation editor so that we can create presentations like this ourselves using our own program. Give us some bragging rights. Multi-user editing on all document types. The most recent algorithm we've come up with, it's able to take atomic actions and just send them and propagate them throughout every user that's connected to a document. So by creating an API that you can just say and send this update to everyone else, it will be easier for people to create their own live updating applications for other people to use. We want to create more document styling so that the documents created using briefcase applications look more professional, and you can really feel proud of, I made this online and it looks good. And the last thing that we're going to work on soon is the ability to embed documents in other documents. Sometimes you want to have your spreadsheet in your Word presentation or your Word write-up. But a lot of times you can't do that, and you have to use a watered-down version of a table that looks the same. A table that looks the same, and just put all of your data points in there. But what we want to do is we want to put the actual spreadsheet object in there so that while you're editing your Word document, you can click on different elements of the spreadsheet and you can actually change them. And all the functions will stay the same, and it will keep everything that you had in your spreadsheet. This would also work better if you have a very long typed document. You don't want to load all the different pieces at once, or maybe you want to distribute all the different pieces to different people and you just want to have like that one button that's like print everything all at once compiled together. You can split up your Word document into different actual documents and just have one where they're all embedded right on top of each other, so that it looks like your final presentation, but you don't actually have to build it all at once. So, as we customarily do in Arcos, we thank all the people who helped us.
So Morthy, or I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name, he just tells us to call him Morthy. He's our mentor, he's great, he works with the Arcos people, he meets with us every Friday. Sean Sullivan is our Arcos sponsor, so he's really the funding behind this. I've met him before, he's a really cool guy. And we'd also like to thank all of the rest of Arcos because we wouldn't be doing this without them, they've helped us so much. Is there any questions?
Do you have a secure connection between the client and the server? Do you use some sort of encryption when you are logging in?
Right now, no. There's no encryption, but that is something that we're very concerned about when moving forward. We haven't done a lot of research into it yet, just because we're trying to get all of just the plain text communication working. But after that's all working, encryption is definitely the next step.